Hola, molt bona tarda, amics del Bluegrass Camp, amigos del Bluegrass Camp, buenas tardes. Volvemos a estar aquí para ofreceros un nuevo workshop. En esta ocasión será de mandolina, pero como siempre esperaremos que Luis nos lo presente, pero para hacer un poco de tiempo empezaremos anunciando las cosas típicas que ya son los mismos anuncios, no nos inventamos nada. Recordaros que somos una asociación que se llama Al Ras Festival, que organizamos un festival una vez al año, normalmente en noviembre. Esperemos que este año, si el COVID nos deja, sí que podamos hacerlo, como solemos hacerlo. Y aparte del festival, si ya estáis aquí, ya lo debéis saber, organizamos el Barcelona Bluegrass Camp, que normalmente es un par de días de cursos con los mejores profesores de todos los instrumentos de bluegrass, pero esta vez, obviamente, lo hemos tenido que hacer de esta manera no presencial, digamos, virtual, pero también con muchas ganas. Recordaros que tenemos unos sponsors. Uno de ellos es VS Audio Systems, que nos ha cedido un par de sus micrófonos fantásticos de instrumento. Uno de ellos es el, digamos, miniatura, que sería quizás más indicado si queremos que no se note tanto en nuestro instrumento. De hecho, se van como pegados, pero con un tipo de cola que después se puede eliminar con un poco de alcohol y no queda ninguna marca en el instrumento. Son fantásticas. Y el modelo superior, digamos, sería este, el de la derecha de vuestras pantallas, que este es un modelo que lleva 3 transductores de condensador y que tiene una respuesta en frecuencia un poco superior, un poco que recoge mejor el timbre de nuestro instrumento acústico, ¿vale? Son instrumentos pensados justamente para nuestros instrumentos, ¿vale? Y el segundo sponsor que tenemos, si me quiere funcionar esto, es Artistworks, como ya viene siendo habitual. Artistworks es una empresa de Estados Unidos que ofrece cursos online de todos los instrumentos de bluegrass y en esta ocasión volvemos a tener esta suscripción de 12 meses con acceso VIP a todos los vídeos. Son miles de horas y de cursos y de clases de estos profesores, y estos productos que han cedido estos dos patrocinadores son los que rifaremos en la rifa que se va a producir mañana a las 7 de la tarde. Y si estáis interesados, podéis hasta las 5 de la tarde comprar los boletos a 5 euros cada ticket para ganar uno de estos premios, o una suscripción de un año a Artistworks, o uno de estos fantásticos micrófonos de instrumento. Y con esto yo he acabado mi promoción. Luis, Jorge, si queréis comentar alguna cosa antes de empezar.
Muchas gracias. Hable Luis.
Bueno, muchas gracias, Manuel, por la presentación. Muy contento de que esté también Jorge, que estamos en este confinamiento y la verdad que tenemos muchas ganas de juntarnos y poder tocar y disfrutar de la música que nos gusta, ¿no? Y bueno, voy a ser muy breve porque ya lo hemos dicho todo. Un poco este es el tercero de los workshops, de los talleres, con Martino Coppo, un italiano mandolinista, una leyenda del bluegrass. Pero bueno, si Jorge quiere decir alguna cosa.
Bueno, yo simplemente recordaría, este señor lleva, si no me equivoco, 40 años tocando en un grupo llamado Red Wine, y lo tuvimos aquí, o sea que tiene una larga trayectoria, y lo tuvimos aquí hace unos años en Al Ras, y yo recuerdo que fue un pedazo de concierto, lo disfrutamos muchísimo. Se metió el público en el bolsillo en la primera canción y ya no salimos de ahí en todo el concierto. Fue maravilloso, eso es lo que yo recuerdo de Martino Coppo.
Exacto. Y tenemos ganas de que vuelva.
Sí. Efectivamente.
Y bueno, yo creo que tenemos una sorpresa que le hemos presentado, bueno, a Martino, con dos amigos mutuos de la familia bluegrassera, y we like to introduce Jean-Marie, Don and Sharon, part of the Bluegrass Camp Al Ras family. So, hey, mon ami, mes amis, ça va?
Hello.
Hola.
Nice to see you again, everybody, and Luis, thank you very much. Okay, today is a special day because it's the BBC camp from far away, hoping that next year we could be all together again. And today is special because we have a special guy that he will be with us soon. His name is Martino Coppo. And Martino, I knew him for a long time, very long time. He is one of the top mandolin players in Europe. and he plays in all over Europe for a long time and in America too. And in 1981, he joined the band Red Wine, which is the longest lasting band in Europe, with his friend Silvio Ferretti, a very good banjo player. So welcome here, and we are waiting for you for this workshop, which will be a very good one. And we are ready to.
We are ready.
Yeah.
We're ready. So,
Because-
Luis, yesterday you said it's whiskey time, and we think it's Italy. It's spritz time.
Free time and
And we are ready.
we are ready.
Oh,
So-
I'm ready. No.
Okay, my friend Martino, so nice to see you here, and we hope that we could meet again in real very soon.
Merci. Gracias. Thank you. I'm so honored to be part of this camp, first of all. So thank you, Luis, Jorge, and everybody involved in this camp. And I'm even more honored to be introduced, but this gentleman is a real legend in the bluegrass history in Europe, and not only. I'm not even a legend in my own house, but Jean-Marie, he's a legend. And when I started listening to this music, one of the first album that I happened to listen to, it was Banjo Paris Session, and I think you were playing banjo on that. Is it correct?
Yes,
So
I even produced it.
Okay, so sorry, I didn't know that, but even more, honored to know this. And so really, Jean-Marie, like Christian Segure, was one of my first mandolin inspiration to start picking up this little instrument. Thank you. Merci for your nice introduction, and gracias, Jorge, for your nice remembering of red wine in Alras. We surely would love to come back, and hopefully we will in the future. So I've never done in live streaming workshop, so I'm used to do Skype lessons. But it's a one-to-one, and so I can relate and talk and communicate with someone. So I imagine there will be few mandolin students. At least I know there are Jean-Marie and Sharon and Jorge and Manuel having their instruments. Luis with the banjo. You can pick up something on the banjo too from the mandolin. But the first thing I would like to start with is like every music workshop start with playing some music. So I would like to play little tunes on the mandolin, and just to warm up and get into the mood of playing and listen to some music. And then we'll proceed from then on. Okay, so it's just a little medley of mandolin tunes. right. So you might have recognized some of these tunes. Maybe not the first. The first one is a fiddle tune that I wrote a few years ago and I recorded with Red Wine. It's entitled "Stealing Peaches." And the second, of course, is a Lonesome Moonlight Waltz from the great Bill Monroe, the father of bluegrass music. And the third one is a Cherokee Shuffle, another fiddle tunes, very well-known fiddle tunes that every mandolin player, guitar player, and of course fiddle players, they have in their repertoire. So the reason I started playing some music is not only to get into the mood of listening and enjoying and sharing some mandolin music and hopefully giving some information, useful information for you, but it's because the first advice that I can give to anyone playing music is when you play music, it's gonna have to be fun. You have to be fun. So I like to start playing music and having fun playing music because really the basic to me for learning and playing an instrument and making progress is if you have fun. Because if you don't have fun, then you might lose the interest in it. And I always remember one time years ago, a classical fiddle player came to a Red Wine show, and at the end he came to us and told us, "I've been looking to all of your set and I was asking myself and wondering, but these guys are having fun. So when I play music, I usually don't have fun. I just play what's written on a piece of paper, and that's my job, you know. But you're having fun, so playing music and having fun can go together." Yes, sure. And to me, playing music and have fun must be together. So that's one of the reasons I start, playing some music. But approaching the mandolin, of course, this little instrument, it's a wonderful tool because you can, first of all, you can travel everywhere with your mandolin. It's light. It's not like a banjo. It's not like an upright bass. And you can play lots of things on the mandolin. You can play lead, you can play backup, you can play rhythm. You can really apply this little tool to any kind of music you like to go. Not only bluegrass. Of course, this is a bluegrass mandolin workshop, and I'm mainly a bluegrass mandolin player. So we'll go into that first of all. And the first thing I like to show you is how to make a good sound with your mandolin. To me, that's the basic along with having fun playing. Is making a good sound, a sound that satisfies your ears and the ears of whoever is listening to you. And doesn't matter if it's a good instrument or it's a so-and-so instrument. The main reason we have to look for is to produce a nice, full, rich sound. And on the mandolin, it's particularly needs to be worked out a little bit more than maybe other instruments for one simple reason, that on the mandolin you have two strings, one next to the other, and your pick has to go through both of them, either on the downstroke like on the upstroke. And if you work on that, then you can proceed and have a good sound. But if you miss one of the two strings or you just don't go through all of them evenly, then your sound might not be so satisfying and as good as it could be. So I'll show you a little exercise that to me is so useful, and I do that every time. It's like a warm-up actually, but it's a warm-up that I call the Tremolo Exercise. Of course, tremolo is one of the most typical technique to be used on the mandolin. Talking about this fast movement on a note, on a single note. And actually the tremolo is nothing but a fast down, up pick stroke. So it's like this, only faster. So you have to double sometime your picking motion. And this exercise, it's very useful to develop this technique and to obtain a rich full sound. For this exercise, we need a very important tool, which is this little thing. Of course, where is the man? Okay. Maybe the youngest of you don't know what is this. This is an old-fashioned metronome. Like, I'm old-fashioned, so I'm using an old-fashioned metronome. I also have a digital metronome, but I like to go with this, even if it's old-fashioned and sometimes it's just not perfect. And set it like, for now it's set at 80 BPM. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'll show you maybe closer to the microphone, and you can hear the sound of the metronome going. And the little exercise starts with single note on an open string, like example the G string. Let's play the G string and play one note for every beat of the metronome, like this. Okay, once you're comfortable with this, we double the note for every beat of the metronome, like this. We don't use the left hand at all, just open strings. When we're comfortable with this, we double again. And if we are brave enough, we double again. And then we go back. And back again. And that's very simple. It might look very obvious and simple, but it's a very effective exercise. I recommend to do that, like once in a while, or even every day for a couple of minutes. It warms up your muscles also, and it helps you to go into your practice session, or into your rehearsal, whatever you're gonna perform with your melody, your show, whatever. Because this is important also to remind that playing music involves a lot of muscles and movements in your body, especially in your hands, but not only in your whole body, in your arms, in your forearms, in your shoulders, your neck, your full body is kind of moving when you're playing, and you don't want to start completely cold. So every time you before a show, before a rehearsal, before your warm-up, before your rehearsal, before you're practicing, I would recommend to spend like 5 to 10 minutes of warming up with a sort of exercise like the one I've just shown you about the tremolo, or like the next one that we're going through, because we've been talking about the right hand. I don't want to spend time into how to hold the pick, how to position your right hand, unless there's some specific questions about that, because we don't have much time, first of all. And second, I guess everybody has his own technique, has his own approach to this. There might be some guidelines that we should be careful to break, because breaking these guidelines could bring more efforts to obtain a good sound and speed and cleanness in your playing. But basically, I'm supposing everybody has his own way to put your right hand and your left hand, and is comfortable with that. There shouldn't be tension, of course, in your both arms and hands and your wrists. So very loose, very, very light. And the last thing we have to worry about is speed, because speed will come with repetition, with time, with practicing. So what I'm concerned when I start teaching mandolin to any of my students is that try slow, and if you can do slow, just a little bit faster, but you have to start very slow. And sometimes playing slow is much harder than playing fast. So it's a good exercise to start learning slow and get a good, clean sound out of your little mandolin. Next exercise, it's basically for the left hand. It involves the right hand, of course, too. I call this another warm-up exercise, and I've made some tabs. I don't know if you can show them. I'm talking about Louis. Okay, it's is the attach number 1, exercise number 1 that I named. It's another very simple exercise, but it has to be exactly the one you're just seeing on the screen. It's a little exercise where you work on all 4 strings, and the main purpose of that is to move your left hand on the fingerboard without waste of movements. One of the basic principle in music, any kind of instrument, playing music on any instruments, is to minimize the movements of your hands and obtain the best result. This is because the more you move your fingers from the fretboard, the more time you spend in getting your fingers back to the fretboard. So if you want to play fast, this is one of the basic rules to follow. And to do this, I worked out, I don't remember what I found this exercise, but I found it very useful. And I'm trying to show you, okay, closer to the camera, how it works. It's very simple. It starts with your index fingers let's start on the E string. And we play a little scale from this note. I'm sorry, it starts on the open string. And play this little run. So open E, 2nd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, and 7th fret. Okay, of course you play with alternate pick in motion. So it's a down, up, down, up, down. But the reason we play this exercise, that if we want all the 4 fingers of your left hand to stay on the fingerboard once they fretted their note. So at the end of the first run, you have to be in this position with all your fingers down on the fretboard. So the first movement goes like this. And back. There are three movements. This is the first one. The second movement starts on the 4th fret, always on the E string, and goes like this. So the 2 movements together sound like this. And here again, the less you move your fingers from the fretboard, the best it is. And then we have the 3rd and last movement, which starts on the 7th fret with your pinky, and you work on your pinky like a pivot, so you keep this note and you alternate the descending notes. So the whole thing together sounds like this. All right. And this should be played on all 4 strings. So you then go to your A string. And so on the G strings and so on. Once you've done this with single note, you do the same exercise by doubling your notes. So and then you triplet, you play triplet. And then 4 notes. Okay, and the same, of course, on the rest of the other strings. Once you've done this, you can start to tremolo on the same exercise, and your tremolo should sound something like this. And once you come to the tremolo, you can add some spice to the plate by giving some expression to your tremolo. Instead of going very, very mechanical. You can vary the intensity of your right hand. Your right hand is like your amplifier. You have your controls over here. You have the volume, you have the treble, you have the bass. Depending on where you play on the strings, you can add treble, you can add bass, you can be more mellow if you go play on the fret, or be more harsh. If you go next close to the bridge, of course, I would like to play at the end of the fretboard, more or less, to get the most full, rich sound. And let's see how you can give expression to your tremolo by just varying your right hand movements of intensity, and by even leaving your pick a little bit looser in between your fingers, so that the sound changes like this. I'll give you an example. This is, of course, is the basic tool you use to give expression to your music, to what you're playing. And in the tremolo is particularly important. Otherwise, tremolo might become a little too much mechanical and less musical. So if you can express feelings, you can express the moment through the intensity of your tremolo, I think on the mandolin you would reach wonderful heights in terms of music quality, and especially because the tremolo is the most fascinating, let's see, at least to me, technique to use on the mandolin. So I would recommend to use both these exercises as a warm-up routine for your practicing, your rehearsal, or even your show when you have a show. You will find them very, very useful. Of course, there would be many more exercises that we can go through. Well, you don't have time. We have to go through more things. Since the time is running fast, I'm just want to talk about what to me is the basic of playing the mandolin and to make progress and learn the mandolin. Of course, I've already talked about the having fun. Now, if you want to expand your vocabulary on the mandolin, I would say that the most important thing you can do is to learn as many fiddle tunes as possible. Of course, fiddle tunes are applied to the mandolin wonderfully because, you know, they have 4 strings. I mean, we have 8 strings, but couples of strings, so 4 strings in the end. And there's a huge well that we can dig and find beautiful melodies, beautiful arrangements, beautiful ideas to incorporate in our own vocabulary, in our own music. So I would recommend to learn at least 1 fiddle tune a week, if possible. Starting from the very simple. It doesn't have to be complex. The basic goal is to incorporate and learn as many melodies, as many embellishments, and as many arrangement techniques sometimes in your own luggage of music tools that you can transpose on your mandolin. And I would like to show you one exercise that I recommend for learning and getting something out of fiddle tunes every time you learn a fiddle tune. Actually, two ways to approach. The first thing is I like to teach how to transpose fiddle tunes. Transpose fiddle tunes, it's a little joke that not always works musically, but it might be very useful to learn your fretboard and to learn your scales through the fretboard and different positions of chords position and possibilities of improvising, for example. So let's start. Let's take a very simple fiddle tune. I wrote down in the tabs tabs for Sailor's Hornpipe. Sailor's Hornpipe is it's actually a tune that I heard the first time playing by the great Bill Keith. Bill, of course, lived in France for many years, so I'm sure Jean-Marie has so many wonderful memories of Bill. But the first time I think I heard this tune playing live, it was from Bill, and he did a wonderful job on playing chromatic style on the banjo, of course. So I would like to give you an example of how a simple fiddle tune could be useful for this exercise. And I wrote a couple of tabs. And now I have to say there's probably a mistake in one of these 2 tabs, because this is probably the one that's correct. No, this is the one that's not correct. Okay, this is correct. So this Sailor's Hornpipe is in key of G, and then we'll move it to the key of C. But the next tab says again G and C. Well, actually it has to be A and D. So we'll start with Sailor's Hornpipe in G, and then we'll move it to C, and then we'll move it to A, and then to D. I will start with a very simple melody, because the first thing when you learn a new tune, when you learn a fiddle tune, is just make sure you learn the melody first, and the right melody, because many fiddle tunes have different versions, and some of these versions have been modified through the years, and there have been some sections, full sections added. But I would recommend to go to the very traditional form, the very original fiddle tune, and work from there. And I don't mean you don't have to learn more sophisticated versions, but I would recommend to start with the original one, also because usually it's much simpler and easier to learn. And then you build on from that. So let's see, for example, the very simple basic melody of Sailor's Hornpipe in G. It goes something like this. So this is a very basic version of sailor's hornpipe. Once we've learned this in G, the exercise is to move it to different keys. For example, now to C, which is very simple because you just have to move across one string. So instead of playing on the E string and the D string, you play on the A string, exactly the same fret, and you have the same melody 1/4 above. We move to G to C. So if you try to play the same melody with the same fingering and the same frettings, it sounds like this. Oops. Okay, it's very simple to move from G to C. Most of the times the same fingerings works perfectly. It's a little more complex to move up to the fretboard from G to A, and we need the next tab, where actually it's the wrong title. I'm sorry, I've realized that too late, but this next tab should say Sailor's Hornpipe A-D instead of GC, exactly. So we must correct that. Moving up to A means that if we have our G position chord in mind, we just move it one tone higher, 2 frets higher, and we have this position. If we look at the fretboard and we visualize the notes that we just played on the G version of Sailors, we have the... So these same notes will be played like 2 frets higher. So instead of this G note, we have to start with this A note, but it's the same, exactly the same pattern. So and using close position help us because we don't have to find for different fingerings. We just use the same finger. Next applies to the second phrase. So we don't have really to move. We just use the close chord position pattern. Okay, now this next phrase is a little more complicated because we have to go up to the C. Sorry, to the B. Okay, then we don't have the open A to play here because we have to move 1 fret higher, which means 2nd fret on the A strings. And that changes our fingerings because we play now so instead of starting with the index, medium and ring fingers on the 7th fret, we should use the medium on the 4th, ring on the 5th and pinky on the 7th, so that we can play our B note on the 2nd fret of the A with our index. So the whole phrase sounds like this. And then the last phrase, use the same patterns fingering. Here again, we have to move on a different 7, 5, 4, 2, 0, and 6th fret on the A string. There's another option that you can use, and it's to play starting on the 7th with your ring and using your pinky on the 9th fret. instead of using this note F sharp here, you just pick it on the 9th fret on the A string, so you should play like this and keep the same kind of a closed A chord position, chopping position. So we have these two options. And then the last phrase. Oops, sorry. Okay, now here we use open strings a lot, so it's nice to use them because you can. So which is the same phrase that we were playing in G. So you have to look for your best fingerings, and sometimes you have a couple of even more options. So just go for the one you feel more comfortable with. But the purpose of this exercise is to stretch your imagination, to stretch your fingers, to find how to play the same fiddle tune in different keys. And this could be also very useful because sometimes if you play in a band, if you back up someone, you work out a song that you've been knowing and playing for years in one key. And then you come up to the session, even maybe a recording session, and whoever is hiring you, whoever is telling you to play, say, okay, but I don't do that in G. I'll play it in A. And then you're in trouble, because you have to immediately transpose everything up one key. Sometimes it's even more dramatic, because if you change from, like say, from a male singer to a female singer, the song could be, completely changed of key. You might go from G to F sharp, from G to E, and then it becomes quite challenging to find the right fingerings and to move maybe the solo you've been working out for weeks and months has completely gone out of business. You have to change it completely. So this exercise might help you to immediately find, at least with the most common keys, a tool to transpose your melodies from one key to another. So my advice is to learn as many fiddle tunes you can, and to learn fiddle tunes and try to move them through the fretboard in different key, different chord positions. Okay, now there's so many things I would like to talk, but and you have the tabs, so of course you can go through the tabs and see how it's been worked out all the times you like. I like to talk a little about rhythm, because rhythm is a lot of times overviewed in any context, but the mandolin is a wonderful rhythmic tools. I think I fell in love with the mandolin first because of the rhythmic potential of these little instruments, especially listening to bluegrass, because in bluegrass really the mandolin is like the snare drums, and you don't have a drum kit, so the bass and the mandolin are the backbone of any band. The interaction between the bass and the mandolin to me is the secret to any sound of any great band that you might listen to. Of course, banjo and fiddle and guitar add context and keep and glue everything together. But if bass and mandolin do not work together rhythmically in sync, there's nothing to do. The band won't click. The music won't really be exciting as it could be. So my advice is to work on rhythm as much as you work on lead, especially if you play in a band or in a trio or a duo ensemble. Make sure you have the right rhythmic propeller to your partner in music. And when we talk about rhythm on the mandolin, of course, we start from the old time kind of groove, you know, more like guitar, pick and start. Which is fine. Sometimes it's very useful when you play like in folkish ensemble, on rock ensembles, to have this open sound. It's really great. It's really nice. I love it to play on open chords and make it. I would like to be the guy who wrote this jingle. I think he's a millionaire. So open strings, I love open strings playing rhythmic. But in a bluegrass band, of course, we don't do that very often, if not at all. So we learn all from the master, Mr. Bill Monroe, of course. Let's see if I can show you a little bit more of it. Yeah, there's more. He was playing the mandolin, yeah. And his impact on the music was so huge that now we don't even realize, especially in the rhythmic department, because he invented the closed chord position, the one we are now used to play all the time. But he's the one who invented. They used to play with open strings in those days, and he had these two notes and made it possible to mute the strings and make this chopping. This chopping sound, full and very percussive, but at the same time you have to listen to the notes, so you have to make sure that you hear the chords you're playing. I often listen to mandolin chopping that doesn't allow the chords to be played, but just like a percussive sound, which is nice in some occasion. But if it goes through the whole song, to me is so boring and so not unmusical. I like when I hear a chop, I like to hear the sound of the chord we're chopping. And that depends on the time of release, the tension on your left hand. So, the chopping technique, I'll show you closely, works like an engine. You have different things happening at different times. The first thing happening here is I have to press with my left hand on the chords, and all the strings should be pressed. So I press the strings, then I run through the strings, basically all the strings, or as many strings as possible, depending also on the speed of the song. And immediately after I pick the strings, I have to release the tension. And that makes the effect, the rhythmic effect. Of course, I can add some colors and spice by maybe playing more like a guitar, a bass. Or even another little upstroke around. And if there's a song that goes from the chorus, at the end of the verse, maybe there's a chorus coming in, I might make a little run like this. And then start again with the chop. These are some basic idea of how it works, the rhythmic chopping on the mandolin. Of course, there are so different techniques that you can use for making rhythm on the mandolin. Like if you play more in a swing style music, one of the most common use situation is to work on two notes chords and do a little bit like a comping, like a piano would do, or like a jazz guitar would do, and the sound would be something like this. That's another great way to back up in a more swingy style. Finally, we have the high-powered chopping technique that was first worked out and introduced by Sam Bush, who of course reinvented and applied some more rock kind of groove to bluegrass. And of course, we all know about the that's another way to work mandolin rhythmic. And he had, he's got a technique that is quite like Bill Monroe. You can play it, but you never sound like him, of course. But it involves another open string. And muting at the same time with your ring and your pink finger the open string. I'm playing an A, let's say the powered open A chord, which is played on the G and D strings at the second fret of the fretboard, and leaving the other A and E open strings. So basically we have A, E notes. And most of the times this comes with a slide from the first fret. And some of the chopping is really just rhythmic and no music. But that's okay, because that's a rock. That's more, kind of funky. Sam plays a lot of reggae, of course, with this technique. And I've read an interview. He got it from Bob Marley's drummer. So he studied Bob Marley's drummer and tried to duplicate on the mandolin what the drummer was doing on his drum kit. And that's another fascinating thing, which I recommend also when you play an instrument. Try to learn from different instruments as much as possible. Try to learn from fiddle players, of course, but try to learn from, in this case, from drummers or keyboard players. Banjo players are fine too, right, Jean-Marie? I know there's a lot to learn from banjos, dobro players, and so on. So just don't limitate yourself to listening to mandolin music if you play mandolin, but listen to a lot of different sources as possible. Lastly, because time is running fast and I have a little short time, I like to talk about Mr. Bill Monroe, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here. You know that? If it wasn't for Bill, there would be this connection between all these wonderful people all over the planet playing his music, even 100 years, 100 years. Almost 100 years after he invented literally this kind of music. So, so many things to be said about Bill, but I just wanted to highlight one of his most peculiar things about it, which I found Mike Compton, who is one of the most powerful and great Monroe style mandolin player of all times. Someone said one time that Mike Compton knows more about Bill Monroe's mandolin style than Bill Monroe's himself. And I kind of believe that, because he studied Bill's music so deeply that he really digged into it and knows a lot about it. And he once described Bill Monroe's music and mandolin style in a wonderful way, comparing Bill to like a painter, and say, there are players who play every note of the melody very clearly, very efficiently, and they do a picture, a full picture of what the melody, of what the song, what the tune is. Just people, you know, like playing every note, like in the old days was like Bobby Osborne, and many more after, you know, just playing very precisely single notes, very clean notes, and giving you a very clear picture like a neorealistic painter would have done. To me, that's my comment. To me, Bill Monroe is more like an impressionist. He's just throwing some, you know, notes like little paintings, brushes, and it doesn't just paint everything very clearly. It just gives you the idea so that you know what's in the picture, but you don't see every single details. You see the whole picture and you got a whole picture of that, but you don't go through the single details. And I find this is a wonderful way to put Bill Monroe mandolin style. And I want to give you an example, a very powerful example of this, by playing in you a traditional number that Bill used to play. And I've included some link to a wonderful live show, a list of this song that he played with the great Doc Watson. Just, you know, a mandolin duet. And let's see if I can find, okay, the right papers. Okay, the song is a very common fiddle tunes named Turkey in the Straw. And if you listen to the melody, I'm sure all of you know the melody. The melody of Turkey in the Straw, played in an old traditional way, sounds like a sorry. That's the traditional way of playing the melody of Turkey in the Straw. If you listen to the link that I put in one of my files that I sent to Louis, and you listen to Bill playing this live with Doc Watson, it's very fast, you can still say that it's Turkey in the Straw, but the technique and the melody that he plays is completely different. And I want to play it for you at the very, you know, kind of slow tempo, just to show how he approaches the same melody. So this is the way that Bill Monroe played Turkey in the Straw. So as you can see, it's quite different from the very joyous sound, very clean and precise on every note. No, he was going like but you can still listen to a Turkey in the Straw. I mean, if I listen to that, I say that's Turkey in the Straw. But he was not playing all the notes of the melody of Turkey in the Straw. He was giving you an impression of Turk in the Straw. And that's why I found that Mike Compton's definition of impressionist style in Bill Monroe's mandolin style compared to the neorealistic style in paintings, it's so appropriate. And I found it very, very, I'd say, very perfect in describing Bill's style. Okay, so I have so many things I would like to talk about. The backup. I would like to talk about the double stops. I would like to talk more about the bluesy style in Bill Monroe's music. There's so many things to say. This is just one of his most important aspects of his playing style. But you know, in Bill Monroe's music, there was three huge components which originated then bluegrass. The first component is his Celtic ancestors, and especially his Uncle Pan Vandiver influence on the fiddle. Actually, Bill wanted to play the fiddle, and if you think of his mandolin style, he's actually trying to play the mandolin to duplicate the effect of the sound of the bow on the strings, like he had a fiddle, with this continuous motion of his right hand. Instead of, you know, picking more on single note, and he was usually working on more than one string. So like in this case, he's playing on more than one strings, at least on two, sometime on three. And on purpose, because he wanted to do a little bit like the bow would do on the strings, hitting more than one string at a time, like a double strings or three strings sometimes. And this is one of the component, and of course the fiddle tunes heritage that he was learning from his Uncle Pan, and that stayed in his legacy. And of course then it turned out that he himself composed many tunes and fiddle tunes, and so this is a component. But then we have the blues that he learned from Arnold Schultz. This black guy was playing the blues guitar, and he was living in his neighborhood. I don't know if it was in Rosin or where was it, but surely he had a big impact on Bill's music. So the blues, which is another aspect of Monroe's music, we don't have time to go through that, but in the tab that I gave you, there's a tab about one of the most powerful bluesy number entitled Bluegrass Stomp, which is in the key of D. You can learn that by watching. I recommend you to watch the original version of Bluegrass Stomp. You'll find it on YouTube, played by the Bluegrass Boys. I think it's a late 40s recording probably, and it's a wonderful, powerful played by Bill. And that's the blues aspect of his music. And then of course we have the singing style, the high lonesome style, and the gospel, which was another huge component of his building his own music and founding the foundation for his music to grow and to progress. Of course, there would be so many things to talk about, so many tunes to go through, so many techniques that we could explore. But I think the time is now run. We've run through 1 hour, and I don't know, Luis, if there are any question that if there's someone watching. I've seen some message. I don't see. I can't read them. But if there are any question that I might try to answer from now on, I would be happy to answer to my students if there were some listen to this workshop. What do you think, Luis? Nobody there? Even Luis fell asleep.
No, Luis.
No questions. Okay, no questions.
No
Good.
question that now.
So that means that two things: or I was extremely clear in explaining
Perfect.
Oh, there's no one. There's no one watching.
It was perfect. Perhaps you just can play some tunes to finish.
End up. Okay, sure.
Yeah, if you want.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, sure, yes.
Okay, sure. I can end up by playing a tune. Of course, every workshop ends by playing a tune. I don't know if there's any request, but of course, I would like to play a fiddle, a sort of a fiddle tune. Okay, this is a tune that I learned from the great Adam Staffy, and it's called Durang's Hornpipe, and it's in a key of D. And I would like to thank all the students, if they were there listening and watching. Thanks for watching and listening. Thanks to Arras, Luis, everybody, Jorge, and Joan, and of course, Jean-Marie and Sharon for being so nice to introduce me. I hope to see you all in person soon and be able to hug and share some whiskey or beer or red wine, and of course share some music. We need that. This world needs some beauty, some music. So thanks for giving me this opportunity to share some with you. This is the Durang's Hornpipe. Oops, that's in D. Oh, okay. Ciao. We could play Bluegrass Breakdown, but I don't think we're in sync.
Yeah. Well, Martino, it's just we are kidding. It's a joke for you. So.
Thank you. It's so nice to see you, Maribel. Ciao.
Yeah.
Hi.
You know, we've been watching your work, and it's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. It was my honor, my pleasure. Thanks for having me here.
No, I think it was great. We are really happy you are at the festival and you play already at the festival at RAS, now at the Bluegrass Camp, and we want to see you in live at the Barcelona Bluegrass Camp.
We too. I can't wait to be back in Barcelona. I love your town.
Great. Perfect.
And
we've been chatting.
We're going to work.
I'm sorry?
We're going to work and practice your advice. Thanks a lot. It was great. Really enjoyed it.
I hope so. There's so many things that I wanted to go through, but you know, the time is what we have. So maybe the next time.
Yeah, so don't worry, you know, it's just 1 hour, it's, you know, time flies. And then people can watch the video, the lesson. So I think it's perfect because your suggestions. I love the thing about Bill Monroe and Mike Compton and the Impressionist and I love it. I love it, the example. So thank you very much. I don't know if Jorge, do you want to say something?
Just to say that thank you, Martino, again. Thank you, Jean-Marie and Sharon. And I'm so glad that everybody's fine and that to see that all of you are healthy. And I hope that very soon we can get together again and play and hug and drink and all those beautiful things.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's my greatest desire, to meet again the people, jam, and share some good times, because that's what life to me is all about. If we're missing that, what we are walking on this planet for?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think just for finish and just for fun, maybe we can try to play Bluegrass Breakdown all together. For sure, it's going to be a delay, but let's do something really short. So just Mandolin, you play the no breaks. So Martino, 2 times maybe, or to you.
No, one time.
One time. Let's play one time.
I would just play the intro, the first round, and then I'll leave it to you.
Okay.
And not so fast. And not so fast.
No.
Okay, I'll try.
Martino. Well, sorry, Martino, for this disaster at the end of the
Luis, I can tell you one thing. The next time we'll play this, it will be in person.
Yes.
And it would be better than this time.
Yes, of course. But it was my fault. But now we can say that you cannot play through internet in live.
We can testify. It's not possible.
Exactly. So, well, thank you very much to all the people watching the workshop. We really appreciate. Please support the festival, the Bluegrass Camp, with buying tickets for the raffle that is going to be tomorrow. And well, Jean-Marie, Sharon, do you want to say something?
Oh, it was a wonderful time, and hope to see you really soon. You are in our heart.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Jean-Marie. Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.
I'm really honored that you jumped on this and introduced me. Hope to see you very soon.
Yes, we hope so too.
Hope so.
Be safe and be healthy.
You too, please.
Perfect.
And of course,
bye everybody. And just in 45 minutes, we will have Chris Luquet with the guitar. So thanks again. Mille grazie, Martino. Mille grazie, and see you in Barcelona.
Thanks to you. Say ciao to Chris. I'll try to catch him, but say ciao to him.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.